First order of business, salary board today, January 14th, is the approval of today's date. That's, oh, I messed this all up already. February.
What's that?
Approve the January.
We're going to approve the January 14th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a request from the courts to approve hiring bonuses for 2 new adult probation officer positions, the amount of $2,500 per new hire. Bonuses will be paid as follows: $625 after 3 months, another $625 after 6 months, the remaining $1,250 after completing 1 year of employment in the position. Your Honor, if you would like to have any remarks on this matter?
You pretty much summed up what my motion is, so I'll adopt what you said and what it says in here. We'll recall that the commissioners, the salary board was kind enough to approve 2 new positions in the adult probation office. You know, there's a number of criminal cases and people we have to supervise, just keeps going up and up and up. So very much appreciated the salary board doing that. Now we're looking at providing these hiring bonuses. I think it's important to note a couple things. That is, the hiring bonuses will be paid, the county will be completely reimbursed for the hiring bonuses and any other fees, costs, or incidental expenses through the probation office supervision money, which is not taxpayers' money. So these bonuses will not cost the Clearfield County taxpayers any monies. The other thing is the amount of the bonus is requested to be at the same amount that the commissioners had approved last year for hiring bonuses for children, youth, and family services employees. So I think those are the things that need to be pointed out.
For the record,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you to amend your motion that says that the costs will be reimbursed via the supervision fees, just so that's part of it? Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Would you like to move, are the other members of the board satisfied with the motion to be amended to include what Mr. Glass stated, or would you prefer that I restate the motion?
No, that's fine.
We're all on
Yeah,
board.
we're good.
Okay, motion being made by Judge Ammerman. Do I have a second? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, a request from the Commissioners to pay the Assistant Director of Elections an additional $400 per
With that,
month,
I'm going to leave.
See you, George.
as she has. Thank you, Your
To
Honor.
the members of the salary board, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
I'll restart this. Request from the Commissioners to pay the Assistant Director of Elections an additional $400 per month for assuming the Director's work duties effective 1/20/25 until no longer performing those duties.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. She's basically the interim director, so we should compensate her for that
Yes, she
until we
has. She is definitely.
hire the new director.
I think traditionally, I think we have done that in the past, so.
It's not the entire amount that would make up the difference between her and the prior director, but it's a significant percentage.
Right,
of
and
it,
she has
so.
picked up extra duties. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have anything else to come before the salary board today?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Salary board is adjourned at 10:34. Now move on to our regular Board of Commissioners monthly meeting. First, we'll have the approval of minutes of the January 28th, 2025 meeting.
Move to approve the same minutes from that same date.
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we will go to Controller Edwards to present the bills.
General fund, $260,346.88. Liquid fuels fund, $6,007.74. Hazmat, $670.45. 911, $4,281.55. Domestic relations, $4,378. $1,000,000.60, and children and youth, $143,954.57, for a total of $419,639.79.
Motion to approve the bills as presented by Controller Edwards.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we will move on to personnel issues. We have several personnel changes listed. Under new hires, we have an intern at CYS effective 2/3/2025. Part-time security effective 2/4/2025. And a corrections officer at the jail effective 2/6/2025. Separations and retirements. We have a custodian effective 2/5/25 and a corrections officer at the jail effective 2/6/2025. No transfers, no FMLA or leave of absence request. Do I have a motion to accept the personnel changes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That concludes personnel. We will now move on to public comment. We will ask you to please use proper decorum in a public meeting and identify yourselves before speaking. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
I guess I'll talk first. I'm gonna move this over. My name's Tony Yankovich. I was here last week. I've been here several times. I handed a handout for the commissioners showing the balance in the county bank accounts on 12/31/23 and 12/31/24. There's been bantering over, well, this is just a snapshot in time when I get right-to-know requests. But at the end of '23, the county's general fund bank accounts totaled $2.6 million. At the end of '24, that total went up to $6.3 million. The total of the operating reserve fund went from $2 million at the end of '23 to $6.4 million at the end of '24. And if you go down to near the bottom of the list, the American Rescue Act account, which had a balance at the end of '23 of $8.4 million, was transferred out during the very first quarter of 2023, before taxes came in. Tax statements go out on March 1st. The balance, I did right-to-know requests, the balance as of March 31st in the general fund banks accounts went up $4.2 million. Again, before taxes came in. And it's still around $6.4 million at the end of the year. The operating reserve account, again, $4.2 million went to the general fund bank accounts, $4.2 million went to the operating reserve fund. I haven't had time to look into the legality of whether the county commissioners are legally allowed to transfer American Rescue Act funds. I know that they were restricted funds and for very intended purposes, but you transferred that money. That money is sitting in the bank accounts at the end of the year. Domestic relations, at the end of '23, had a $600,000 balance. At the end of '24, $1.4 million. Domestic relations has a separate budget. It's only $2 million for 2025. So domestic relations is sitting on $1.4 million at the end of '24 towards the expenditures for 2025, budgeted at $2 million. I went back and looked at the streaming for the January 14th. There was $900,000 transferred from 911 and
That's the end of your time, sir.
that money that was transferred was to reimburse the general fund for expenses.
My name's Steve Albert. I'm a lifelong resident of Clearfield County, small business owner, and one of the county coordinators for Tactical Civics. I'm just gonna read what I wrote. Obviously, people don't want a tax increase for any reason, especially when we don't understand why. We want you to cut spending just like we need to do when our personal budgets are tight. Problem is, the dollar amounts the county is working with certainly don't look like a tight budget. For example, just because the county has funded programs and organizations in the past doesn't mean it has to continue funding them. These programs need to prove that they are a much needed benefit to Clearfield County, otherwise defund them. Then those who survive a budget cut need to keep their budgets tight. We all know what happens at the end of a budget year. Money is spent recklessly just so they can claim to need the same amount or more next year. It's wasteful and must end. The county needs to keep a small budget. We don't need a surplus. There shouldn't be funds left over. Every dollar brought in should be put back out into the community through salaries and services. No more padding the yearly budget to have an increase every year. The county is not to be run like a business. It's not here to make a profit. It's to be run like a household, dollar in, dollar out. Is the county struggling to pay the bills? I know you can't answer that right now. If there isn't enough money to pay the bills, a household has 4 options. Number 1, don't pay the bill. I don't recommend that. Number 2, go into debt by borrowing or using credit cards. I also don't recommend that. We don't want you guys going into debt. Number 3, a household, in order to make sure they can pay the bills, needs to cut unnecessary spending. That's what we have to do in our homes. We can't go to the movies on a Friday night and get the extra large bucket of popcorn if we don't have the money for it, if our electric bill's too high, or if our taxes are too high. We have to cut our spending to make our bills. And number 4, we could increase income in a household. We can get a second job. We can ask for a pay raise at work. We can sell some of our stuff so that we can pay our bills. We can do that in our household. The only way you guys can increase income for the county is to either raise taxes or promote small business growth and local industry. I haven't seen that happen. I understand you want a surplus for future commissioners to enjoy. That looks real good on your resumes. Problem is, not all future commissioners will be as fiscally responsible as you guys. We all know when there's extra money, it'll get spent, probably foolishly. And most importantly, when there's more money in the county bank accounts, that means there's less money in our bank accounts. Surplus is a bad thing when it comes to government. Hopefully you 3 have looked at each expenditure and verified if the money spent is being used most effectively.
That's the end of
I'm
your time,
almost
sir.
done. If
Well,
not,
3 minutes is 3 minutes. Sir.
that's a dereliction of duty. We hired you through the ballot box to do what's
Steve,
best
your
for the
time is
county.
up.
Steve,
It's not, I know it's not easy. Please rescind the tax increase. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Any old business from you gentlemen to come before the board? We'll now move on to new business. We're going to consider an agreement with ProCat for court reporter equipment. Our solicitor, Heather Bozovich, will explain this.
This is for an upgraded equipment for Mr. Snyder. He's our court reporter. He's been here about 30 years. His machine is no longer compatible with the software upgrades. This was something that was, my understanding is brought up during budget hearings. It was something that was accounted for. He's used the same system for several years. The cost is less than $5,000. It was included in their budget, and Mr. Snyder will be paying for the subscription. That's going to be handled outside of that, so there's not a cost for the county as far as that subscription goes.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agreement with ProCat for court reporter equipment?
so moved.
Second. No, you're good.
Properly moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we consider a grant agreement with DCED for District Attorney Sayers. I believe this is for some security upgrades in his office.
Yes, DCD had approved security upgrades in the amount of $42,000 for the district attorney's office. So this is the agreement setting forth those funds. I have been in contact with District Attorney Sayers just to review the estimates that those were done, how they needed to be done, and to move forward. So he is asking for consideration for permission to move forward with that grant agreement. There's no match. These are DCED funds that were made available. My understanding, this was a special program they had specifically for these types of repairs.
Okay, motion to enter into the grant agreement with DCED for District Attorney Sayers.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Consider the appointment of Brian Owens to the Solid Waste Authority. I believe this is one of the last outstanding vacancies we have.
Yeah, that was a late breaking vacancy, I think, and then now we can fill it.
Yeah, it's through December 31st of '27.
I was gonna ask when the term.
Okay,
so there
he's
you go.
filling out a term then.
Correct.
Okay, motion
Go ahead.
So moved.
I'll second.
properly moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
And next we have a purchase of service agreement with Peoples R Us.
This is a CYS agreement. They are a new provider. As you're aware, we've had some placement of children that are very specialized in the care that they need. Peoples R Us is one service provider that is able to assist us with one of our challenging placements. This agreement's a little different from our standard agreement, only in the terms of transportation. We worked with them on a little different arrangements for transportation to be made. I've reviewed that with the director. She's comfortable with that. They've agreed to it. So it is ready for your approval today.
Okay, to motion to enter into a purchase of service agreement with Peoples R Us in relation to CYS.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye. And just real quickly, I know it's not on here because we didn't have an agreement, but the folks from the league were here about that Spark, and I know that's still underway. I just wanted people to think we didn't forget about it, but I know that there's been talk of actually getting the agreement created, so.
Yes, I think there's gonna be two moving parts of our Sinclair agreement that's in place. That's gonna be transferred over to them. And we are tossing around some dates for a conference call to make sure everybody's on the same page. So I would anticipate we will have that for the meeting on the 25th? 28th, 25th, right there,
Yeah.
25th.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
didn't want anybody to think we forgot about that. That's an important service, but I know it's underway.
Anything else from the solicitor?
I do not have anything additional this morning.
Anything else to come before the board? Before we go any further, we're gonna address two things. First off, on this right to know request, these numbers, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. There is no budget surplus. The fact that there was a carryover at the end of the year, that will be used prior to tax income coming in. A lot of this conflates different things, combining general fund, domestic relations, incentive, children and youth. That just conflates numbers to get a larger picture. The commissioners do not have access to or control over a number of those funds. I believe Mr. Edwards can speak to the county's position is solid, it is financial, and it is prudent to carry money at the end of the year rather than borrowing a tax anticipation note. We could be into hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest if we borrowed this instead of budgeting for it. These numbers are prudent, they are sound, and there is no budget surplus being carried forward.
The only thing I would add is that when we ran the numbers in the budget, and you can verify this, when we were done, it showed a $3 million deficit for '25. So we talked about and we enacted the mill, and that made it a $1.9 million deficit, which is being, on paper, we'll have to transfer something in from operating reserve to cover that. Now, that's a worst-case budget. We always try to be conservative with our budgets, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that bad, and I said so at the time. But there's no way I could, in good conscience, approve a budget with a $3 million hole ripped in the middle of it without doing something to address that hole. And unfortunately, the mill, I'm hopeful that we'll be in a better situation this year and we won't have to do something like this again. We'll see how the year goes. But that's where the numbers took us, and while we we played with it as much as we could. There was no way to take a $1.9 million deficit and just make it disappear. We have too many obligations that we can't play with, so.
No, and we've tried to explain this, and we're gonna be just as concise as we can here. Right to know request, in a sense, is a one-day snapshot. Due to our fund transfer through ICE and GEO, that is just about this difference here. We can have $4 million in our account on Thursday. That's gone on Tuesday, because it was not our money. It is a pass-through from ICE to GEO as part of our arrangement with them. They are a major employer in the county, and we have entered into that agreement prior to me being on the board. But to just keep coming back and saying, well, there's a budget surplus, quite simply, there is not. Anybody who wants to come in and sit down with us, sit down with Controller Edwards, we will gladly do that. Now, we're going to change topics here. On the closure of the Queehana boot camp, we're both disheartened and dismayed as a board. There's been a lot of discussion among ourselves and state legislators, state senators. We feel Queehana was a good model for Clearfield County. It was a good model within the Department of Corrections system to provide those lower risk inmates with a chance for rehabilitation and some more educational and counseling opportunities to reintegrate into society. Choices made by the Department of Corrections to close facilities, they don't sit well with us. I know they don't sit well with our counterparts in Center County, and we are going to work diligently with our state elected officials to see if there is anything we can do with this. And in the meantime, feel free to contact your state representative, your state senator. Everyone is involved, and we're going to see if there is any other solution to this other than the decree of the Department of Corrections. Would either of you two like to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's something very important that the citizens of Clearfield County speak out about, and they have been. I've been watching the Facebook posts over the past 24 hours. Clearfield County, in fact, most economists will tell you that most of rural America did not completely recover from the Great Recession of 2008. And in the past several weeks, we've learned of the projected closure of the Commonwealth University campus, which was formerly known as Lock Haven. And now to get this 1-2 punch on top of it, to have Queehana Boot Camp predicted for closure, as well as Rockview, is just another obstacle that rural Pennsylvania does not need, and certainly local leaders don't need, because we've been working very hard to try to turn things around. It's very disheartening that the governor just decided to save some money. While I can certainly appreciate the need to do that, but to do it on the backs of Clearfield Countyans and other people in rural Pennsylvania is just a horrible thing to do, and just seems to be I'm starting to get suspicious that we just don't count for very much in the governor's world, which is unfortunate, because it's a very important part of it's just as important part of Pennsylvania as the urban areas, and I think we would all agree on that. So please contact your state officials, because they are, as you've seen, they've come out in the media and issued a statement. They're trying very hard to prevent this, and I think not just they, but I think Pennsylvania in general needs to know that we're not appreciative of this, and we're going to try to stop it.
I'll
Would
say,
you like to add?
just a little bit. I mean, we were blindsided. I mean, I think we knew about 60 seconds before everybody else did when I got off the phone.
Before the phone
governor's
started
staff.
ringing,
And
yes.
then all of us, we got hit right away. So we had no foreknowledge of this whatsoever. In fact, I had no idea that you had heard rumblings, but I hadn't heard anything. So we've only had 24 hours to process this ourselves. We understand the frustration. We're frustrated. I know Center County commissioners are frustrated. The only two things I would say, it sucks, to John's point, that it's not just one, it's really two, because with Rockview closing, okay, maybe our constituents might have been able to transfer to Rockview, but all those Rockview people are probably going to go to Benner and maybe Houtsdale, and so there may be jobs available, but they're probably not going to be local jobs, and we're talking about really uprooting families, which it's terrible. And the other thing I'll say is, I know a lot of people are saying, let's do something. we're open to ideas. First of all, this is the state's bailiwick, it's not ours. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but we literally have no control over this decision. I agree with them, contact your legislator, contact the governor's office, if you're concerned about this. And number two, if this happens and if the facility closes, and I've heard a lot of people, we need to do something else, give us some ideas. I'm really at a loss as to what we could do with that property, you know.
Well, it was a very well-suited to its dedicated purpose. It would be hard-pressed to find it to be well-suited for something else due to geography
The
and,
location is, you know, it's like you say, it's suited for a couple of things, but not for others. So, we're open to ideas, you know, we understand the problems, we're looking for solutions, so.
Yeah, yeah, we were fortunate, in the 50s, that's where Curtis Wright Corporation located, and it's a remote location. My father worked there.
There's a reason it was remote.
Yeah,
They
the
were doing
reason for
nuclear.
the testing that was done needed to be remote, the engineering tests that were done there. And fortunately, it suited the next level, which was to turn it into a specialized correctional facility. But boy, to expect to come up with a third and fourth use for it is quite a stretch.
We're not saying it can't be done, but we're definitely open to suggestion.
Yeah.
okay, seeing nothing else on the regular Board of Commissioners meeting, we will move for a motion to adjourn, and then we will go directly into the reorganizational of the Board of Elections. So I have a motion second?
Second,
Moved in second. Commissioners' meeting is adjourned at 10:57. We will now move to the Board of Elections reorganizational meeting.